what he had originally written. He's like, okay, what innocuous thing here do I have that I can turn into like this next big thing? And I think Chuck does that constantly, and that's why we get all this weird shit happening, especially later on.
Yeah, and like details don't match up, and Chuck opens up so much room for headcanons.
Yeah,
I kind of like that about him, honestly.
Yeah, it's really fun to like look at all the old stuff and mine it for like new plot details.
I have really mixed feelings a lot about like the meta aspects of the show. Honestly, it does open up a lot of possibilities.
Did you guys ever hear the headcanon that because Chuck was obsessed with Dean, he just like put himself into like one of the women that he slept with so he could like sleep with Dean?
I don't think I've heard that, but it doesn't shock me at all.
I'm like,
I'm just not going to devote any more thought to that.
All right, well,
I do have a kind of on that same, not on that same line, on the like line of Chuck, and like I'm rewatching season 9 right now, and I was watching the episode with Garth in that season, and there's this line at the end when Garth is like, well, I could come hunt with you, I've got all these new skills, and Dean's like, no, like stay with your family, like you get this opportunity to have like a normal life, like take it. And Dean says to him, like, someone's got to tell our story when we're gone. And like in the secretly good supernatural that exists in my head, even in season 15, if we have like the idea that even if the Winchesters are gone or one of them's gone or whatever happens, that like Garth is created as by Chuck as like this witness to it is really interesting to me, especially as he like takes over from Bobby.
That reminded me of a headcanon that I totally forgot. I have no idea where I saw this, so if this is your headcanon, thanks. I guess I don't remember who you are. And I'm sorry, but I saw a headcanon somewhere that the reason that the Winchesters so like chronically suffer from insomnia is because Chuck is bored. Like he's watching them all the time, and like when they're asleep, nothing's happening. So like the reason that they're always like awake all the time and like can never sleep more than 4 hours is just because like Chuck needs to be entertained.
Oh my gosh, maybe that's why Sam had dreams, like prophetic dreams.
Oh, yeah.
That's often how writers will use the downtime when characters are sleeping. They'll give them dreams, like in Percy Jackson.
Yeah, Chuck is just like, okay, you can only sleep for 4 hours, and if you do sleep, then like you're gonna see something important.
And do you think like if it had been a world where they were allowed like a full 8 hours, they wouldn't have done half the shit that they would have done?
Absolutely.
They would probably be like emotionally at least slightly more stable, right? Good night's rest. Not as likely to like
when you're not chronically sleep deprived, like
I think so.
You don't turn to other things to self-regulate when you like are getting enough sleep.
It took like 4 days. Like Sam, like in season 7, could not sleep. Like physically could not sleep, and it took 4 days for Dean to become actually concerned because like they just can never sleep.
Yep.
Oh gosh, these people should be dead many times over. Like permanently.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oftentimes a lot of the cast like won't answer questions about headcanons, which I mean makes sense. Like they're on contracts and like they don't want to speak for like the like creative team behind the characters too much. But this is a headcanon that Jensen has talked about. And that is that Dean was engaging in like sex work in his like teens to support Sam.
Oh yeah.
That's a chilling headcanon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just so, like in season 9, when we have Bad Boys and Dean gets arrested because he's like stealing like a loaf of bread and peanut butter, but we also see like his wrists, and he like claims it's a werewolf. He claims it's I think he claims it's a werewolf.
Yeah.
Which cannot be true because of other things they've said about when they last saw werewolves. So it doesn't track with canon, but I've always been like, there are multiple headcanons for how he gets those bruises. But I also wonder about along with this headcanon that Jensen has said, if that's where these are coming from.
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot. I mean, on top of Jensen endorsing it, which to me is like that's all you need. Like Dean is definitely doing other crimes as well, like to feed them. He's stealing food. There's a cut scene from season 14, Ouroboros, about where John taught Dean how to like lure truckers. And then we talked about this in season 1, episode 20, Dead Man's Blood, where Dean like lures in Kate the vampire by like pretending his car broke down.
Dean is way more than any other character.
And so I think he's running like scams and like that. He's doing. I just think that's sex work and scams. I think that's how he's keeping him and Sam fed and clothed.
Which is a really horrible thought, but unfortunately it makes sense with the show.
Can I make it worse?
Please do.
Sure. Have at it.
I believe. Why? I feel like I keep doing this. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that for Dean's 18th birthday, John gave him the Impala as a gift.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I had always thought that, like, if he was engaging in that sort of activity, you know, a lot of it would be for food. Yes, also to have, like, a motel room if John was disappearing for long periods of time. So part of me thinks maybe it stopped around the time he turned 18 because he and Sam could always sleep in the car.
Yeah.
But that also implies he was probably doing it really young.
Also, by the time that Dean is 18, Sam's 14, so Sam's gonna start catching on.
And Sam is incredibly smart. And
Yeah.
like, observational. So like whenever I read fic, I really like appreciate with like young Winchesters. I really appreciate when they recognize that like Sam picks up on more than
Sam's a smart kid.
Sam picks up on things. So like I don't think, and that Dean, as soon as Dean realizes that Sam may be picking up on it, absolutely he's gonna find a way to stop because he's not letting Sam see that.
I don't have a lot to say about this one. I mean, I probably could. I just didn't write myself any notes about it, but there's a lot of... I've talked about it before, which is why I didn't put a lot of notes in there. There's a lot of headcanons about one or both of the Winchesters being trans, but I think, like, specifically Dean makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Interesting.
I don't know. I feel like John, you know, in general isn't like the most supportive parent, but I also feel like John Winchester isn't willing to raise girls either.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, he would make some like leeway for that.
I mean, as I think we've all discussed, there's quite a lot of different ways to read supernatural in various queer lenses, many all at once, like a beautiful like rainbow kaleidoscope.
That's actually one of the, I guess, important things about headcanons and why they exist, because people watch TV and they read stories as a form of escapism, and sometimes it's really nice to like see yourself or things you value in the media you consume.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said at the start of the episode, like you can hold a lot of different like conflicting headcanons at once, or like your headcanons can just be for you and nobody else has to believe them. As long as you believe them, that's good enough. I really like this one. I've talked about it before briefly, but I just wanted to bring it up here as well. And kind of in that vein also, I've seen a lot of people like headcanon cast as autistic, and I'm not even sure that's a headcanon so much as it is just interpreting the text. But
I just see it as a trope of inhuman characters, and it's its own bag of worms.
Yeah.
It's got its own problems as like a trope, but at the same time,
Cass in particular.
Personally, it's really refreshing to see and to like do that interpretation for me personally. And this is not necessarily true of every neurodivergent or autistic person, but like to be able to see some of the like traits and then be like, oh, I understand why this character is doing this, or I understand like, or like their awkwardness with fitting into the world. Yeah, it's really, I think it's really kind of cool. It's a cool way of like reading, which is the same with queer reading. It's like a really cool like claiming a character or an experience.
Yeah, these are all like really good characters. Like the only issue with the trope of inhuman characters acting autistic is that it dehumanizes people who actually are autistic.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean we need to stop. We just need to balance it with like more human depictions of it.
Yeah,
and I would say at least with Cass, you know, he is someone who we see grow and have like this really great character arc through many, many seasons versus just maybe like a minor character that doesn't have the chance to get fleshed out, and also, dare I say, possibly best character of all time.
Oh, he's amazing.
Cass is great. I would also argue on Cass's behalf that when Cass becomes human at various points, he's not different.
No,
which is really nice. It's nice that he gets the opportunity also to like learn and change. Like his traits aren't static.
Yeah,
he adjusts to his environment and learns and grows like just like a human would.
Yeah,
and I also feel like this is a less serious canon. I'm sorry.
We like some goofy. Some goofy ones at the end, so we can go wherever.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like out of all the characters we see, he probably has the best taste in music. That's my headcanon.
Oh, I agree, 100%. I think the Cass's taste in music is amazing.
Hello, Agent Beyonce.
There are just so many good ones. I have a Destiel headcanon.
Do tell. That
Destiel happened violently during / after season 5, episode 18.
Violently?
Which episode was that?
That's the episode. That's the episode where Dean is Dean's on his like goodbye to her because he's gonna say yes to Michael.
Is that the I gave you everything and this is given to me?
Yeah.
And Dean's like, please. In his head, he's just please do it.
In that episode, Cass does slam Dean against the wall and yells about how he rebelled, he lost everything, and Dean is throwing it all away.
I did all of it for you.
Yeah. Dean also says, blow me, Cass, like sarcastically, and Cass gives him like a look. And then in between those two things is the scene where Dean's like locked in the panic room because they think he's gonna say yes to Michael. And Dean says, not for nothing, but the last time someone looked at me like that, I got laid. And then Cass continues looking at him, and then Dean winks. Like, what was that wink, Jensen? How are we supposed to interpret that wink?
They're so real in that episode.
I can see why you chose this episode.
So, my basically theory is that, like, it happened. It was a little bit angry, but I think that Dean was so aggressive about it never happening again, and it not really meaning anything after that it had happened, that's why it takes so long for Cass to ever bring up his feelings again. Exactly 10 seasons to the episode.
KJ, do I, have to write this? Oh my god. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna get around to writing it anytime soon, so please do. I have some, fun ones, but if other people have some, please feel free to step in. I have a couple more left, but I don't want to, keep talking and
I feel like I've mentioned this before, but I have a very short list of fan fictions I would write if I wrote fan fiction, and a few of them are from Supernatural. They're not about any of the main characters.
Well, that's okay. Tell us one. Just for the fun of it.
The main one is I just really want to write the backstory of Patrick and Leah from the episode where Dean turns into an old man because he's playing cards.
Right. The witch couple. The witch couple, yeah.
There's so much history there. I want to just write, their whole story and have it end, the same way, but be all, tragic and amazing, and it's gonna be fun.
I feel like that would be fun. I feel like there's some story there. I feel like you could come up with a lot of, things to fill in that backstory.
Yeah, you could go through, Leah's whole... You could make her the main character. She could meet Patrick. We get to meet her daughter. We get to see, their whole story together. And
I just remembered that she had a daughter.
Yeah, right? There's so much potential there.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's on my short and weird list of fan fictions I would write. It's right under a dark fantasy version of Barbie Magic of Pegasus, so you can see what kind of stuff is on there.
Top tier.
I have a little, fun, sweet headcanon that I feel like you guys will like. And that's that Sam and Cass have a garden at the bunker.
Aww.
I talked about this when Abigail and I talked about Stanford headcanons. I just feel like Sam likes plants. I feel like Cass could have, a little beehive, and Dean would, tease them, but then they'd have, fresh vegetables and honey, and he'd just be like, okay, I'm gonna stop teasing you guys now. This is delicious.
Okay, I bet they have a greenhouse.
He gets to bake with the ingredients and make pie.
Oh,
so,
that made it better.
Dean complains a lot, but he also, uses the blueberries and makes pie, so...
I bet the Men of Letters had some sort of UV light system underground or something for that purpose, and they just took advantage of it.
I bet you that place has a full-on rooftop garden.
But I feel like it has to be secret, right? So they would probably try to make it underground first.
Maybe, yeah.
Hydroponics, maybe?
Ooh.
There we go. Either way, it's a nice thought.
If not, then they definitely made one after the fact, once they had moved in. If there wasn't one already pre-installed, Sam and Cass made one together.
We're planting some vegetables, Dean.
Need to be besties.
Yeah.
We needed more time of them just doing random stuff together. I don't even know what, but I wanted to see more of it.
Gardening, that's what they're doing.
Literally.
Yeah.
I feel like I have so many more, and I didn't write any in my notes, but I have one more in my notes.
Oh, God. Yeah, go ahead.
And that's that Sam and Eileen just have the biggest, goofiest, friendliest dog. It's large, but nobody is fooled into thinking that they got it for protection.
Aww.
And that Jack and Sam sit outside together in the evenings in the summer. They play fetch and they chat with each other for hours until either Cass or Eileen comes by and reminds them that Jack has the bedtime.
Aww, because he's tiny, because he's small.
Yeah.
That makes me think of a headcanon that I have, which is also about pets. I think that Dean found a really tiny, almost dead kitten one day. Probably, I'm not sure exactly when. Actually, no. I think maybe during the Widower arc, early season 13, and he takes it home and he takes care of it, and it becomes this really grumpy, really standoffish cat that just owns the bunker, just roams the bunker, and will only ever and then when Cass comes back, the cat decides that he doesn't like Dean anymore. He only likes Cass.
Oh,
and
it's basically a cryptid because that bunker is huge.
Yeah,
I love it.
Oh, I love that.
and Cass just deserves a cat. He just deserves one.
It's Cass's Cass's cat, and Dean pretends that bothers him, but it really doesn't, because as long as the cat is there, Cass keeps coming back.
What if the cat was named Cass?
Oh, the cat's definitely named Cass, but Dean definitely denies that when Cass comes back.
Or like
No, I
cat
didn't name the
steal.
cat after you. Why would I name the cat? Why would I name the cat after you? Like you're so